About half this unit is going to be spent on geometry, and we begin with area and perimeter of some basic shapes. If we start with perimeter, perimeter is just simply the distance around a figure. If you have some special figures, like a rectangle, a square, or a triangle, the regular type figures actually have a formula where you can shortcut it if you want to. With the perimeter, I'm not sure there's really a reason to use the formula. If you draw a picture, usually that's the most help that you need. If I want to find the perimeter of a rectangle with a length of 7 inches and a width of 4, I would draw a rectangle with a length of 7 and a width of 4. Now perimeter, I just have to add up all the sides. If I've got 4 sides, I need to label all 4 sides. Seven across from 7 and 4 across from 4. The easiest way is to just add up all 4 sides. So 7 plus 4 plus 7 plus 4 would equal 22, and those measurements are in inches. If I'd like to use the formula, the perimeter is twice the length plus twice the width. 2 times the length is 7, and 2 times the width is 4. I could type that into my calculator all in one step and it'll give me the answer. 2 times 7 is 14. 2 times 4 is 8. 14 plus 8 is 22. And again, the unit we want is inches. If I want to know the perimeter of a square, the square means all 4 sides are the same. So if one side is 8, all sides are 8. I can add up my 4 8s, and that would give me 32, and this unit is centimeters. Or if I look at my formula, the perimeter of a square is 4 times whatever a side is. In this case, it's 4 times 8, still gives me 32, and again my unit is centimeters. Perimeter of a triangle, and it gives me all 3 sides. Triangle, you just add up all 3 sides. Okay, that's a really sad looking triangle. But if I have sides of 2, 6, and 8, I just add them up. Well, that's what the formula says. The perimeter is A plus B plus C, so you just add up the 3 sides. Doesn't matter which is A and which is B and which is C, because I'm just adding them up anyway. So I still end up with 2 plus 6 plus 8. Either way I go, 2 plus 6 plus 8 is going to equal 16. And in this case, my unit is meters. If you have an oddly shaped figure, you just follow your way around and add up however many sides you've got. So you don't necessarily have a formula here, you just want to add all your sides. So the perimeter is 3 plus 3 plus 8 plus 2 plus 8. If I just start here and follow my way around. Make sure you don't miss any. So, you want to count, I had 5 sides, I have 5 measurements in my addition here. So this is what? 6 plus 10 is 16 plus 8. The perimeter would be 24. And in this case, the units is feet. Now area is a little bit different. Instead of just measuring the distance around, you want to actually figure out the area that it takes to fill a space. When we do that, our units will become square units. If we multiply inches times inches, we get square inches. Feet by feet, you get square feet. Those are the measurements that you use, like to measure flooring or carpeting, things like that. Rectangle, square, and triangle, those are your regular figures. We also have a parallelogram and a trapezoid. We have formulas for those, so we just need to understand the pieces and the parts. If I have a rectangle and I have a length of 7 and a width of 4, I don't need all 4 measurements because I want to find the area. I want to follow the area formula, and area is just length times width. If area is length times width, my length is 7 and my width is 4, that gives me 28. But now my units were inches, and what I said is inches times inches is square inches. We can write that shorthand by just putting an exponent of 2 on our unit of inches, and that's read 28 square inches. If I go back to my square, that was 8 on each side. You could do it like a rectangle because that would be 8 by 8. The formula technically is if you know one side, you just square it. So if one side is 8 and I square it, that gives me 64. And it's 8 centimeters times 8 centimeters. Centimeters times centimeters is square centimeters, which is centimeter with a square on it. Now the last one here is asking you to do both. Find the perimeter and the area. Now if I want to do it without a picture, it's perfectly possible, but sometimes the picture will help you visualize it. Perimeter is twice the length plus twice the width. And if it tells me the length and the width, I just plug them in. 2 times the length of 6 plus 2 times the width of 3. Again, you could do it in pieces and parts, or you can type that into the calculator exactly the way it looks. 2 times 6 plus 2 times 3. That's what? 12 plus 6 is 18, I believe. Now this is not feet times feet. This is 12 feet plus 6 feet is 18 feet. Perimeter is just your regular units you carried along. Now if you want to do area, the area formula is length times width. That's 6 times 3. That's also 18, but this time I am doing 6 feet times 3 feet makes 18 square feet. The formulas that are a little bit more challenging, these definitely do help to have a picture. This is a right triangle, so that how tall the triangle is this 13. That is the height, which makes 16 the base. So the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So this is 1/2 times 16 is the base times 13 is the height. Notice I've got the 1/2 in there, but I also have 16 times 13. 16 times 13 is going to be yards times yards. So when I get my answer, this is going to be square yards. Now on my calculator, I remember how to do my fractions. So put the 1/2 in parentheses if you type it into the calculator. And you just do, again, one line. 1/2 times 16 times 13 gives you an answer of 104. This next figure is a parallelogram. Parallelogram looks like a rectangle that doesn't have right angles in the corner, so it's kind of like the state of Tennessee, but maybe more or less dramatic because these sides are slanted, more or less, meaning they could slant more or they could slant less. How tall the parallelogram is, that's the height. And then you want to take the base as one of the two sides that it touches. So 17 on top, this would also be 17 on the bottom. 17 is what we want to use as the base. The height connects the two bases. So in a parallelogram, the area equals the base times the height. So the area is going to equal 17 times 8. Now notice again, I'm doing 17 times 8. That's going to be centimeters times centimeters, which means when I get my answer is 136. That's going to be centimeters squared. The last one is a trapezoid. A trapezoid is a still four-sided figure. It has two parallel sides, which are your two bases. Now you have two different bases of two different sides. Your height still connects the two bases, but since they're not the same amount, what we have to do is we have to average the two bases. So we're kind of going to do base times height, but we have two different bases. The way I average the bases, I call the shorter one lowercase b, the larger one uppercase b, and if I want to average those two things, I need to add them up and divide by 2. That doesn't look pretty as a formula, so instead of saying divided by 2, I'm going to take 1/2 of the sum of my bases. And it doesn't matter in here whether I do the small one plus the large one or the large one plus the small one, because when you add them up, it doesn't matter whether you do 1 plus 3 or 3 plus 1, the sum is still going to be 4. After I average my bases, I'm going to multiply that answer times my height. So it looks like a complicated formula, but it's not really that bad. 1/2, my little base is 3, my big base is 7, times my height is also 3. And again, if I put my fraction in parentheses, I can type that in exactly the way it looks. So if I've got 10, half of 10 is 5 times 3 is 15. So my area is 15. The average of my bases, 7 plus 3 is 10. Half of that is 5. The average of my bases is 5 yards times 3 yards. This is still yards times yards. Anytime I do area, my units are going to be squared. Yards times yards is yards squared.